Hey there, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you're all doing well. I'm joining live here with my dog Jack. We just got done with our daily walk, and this walk, this is a walk that I need on a daily basis in order to be able to ground and really allow things to land. And so I wanted to do that before I hopped on a live and talked about the astrology that we're experiencing right now and how it can help us hopefully give context to so much of what we're seeing, experiencing, feeling. So, needless to say, right, today was an interesting day in the United States, politically wise. And, I received a few messages from people, and I'm noticing the energy that is in the air and how people are holding so much of what's happening. First off, I want to say that none of it is wrong, right? None of it is wrong. All of it is valid. And I think that we're all going to experience anything that happens in life in the way that we're going to experience it, right? According to our level of consciousness, where our nervous system is, other things that may be going on in our lives. But let's talk about the astrology, and this is Jack. He doesn't want to leave my lap right now. Let's talk about the astrology. And my hope is that it gives you some context of the much, much bigger picture of what's really happening at this moment in time and why we chose to experience the things that we chose to experience, why we chose to live some of the things that we chose to live at this moment in time. So we are in a week where we are in the middle of a full moon and a new moon. So we had the full moon in Cancer, which was a very potent full moon last week on January 13th. It was a powerful full moon. We felt it. There was a lot of emotion. There was this understanding. So for those of you who follow my YouTube channel and listen to the forecasts, I talk so much about how that full moon in Cancer was going to show us how what we thought was our definition of home, our definition of safety, Cancer also represents homeland, right? Our connection to homeland and what that means to us now. That full moon was going to highlight how that is significantly changing and transforming. And in that forecast, I talked about how Pluto, even though it was a full moon in Cancer, how Pluto was really the one of the main characters of that and the transformation that comes with Pluto. Tomorrow, Tuesday, January 21st, we can even really consider it now. We have an exact conjunction between the Sun in Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius. So where Pluto in Aquarius is the reminder of we are in a new era. We are in an era of awakening. We are in an era in which the things that we deemed safe, tried and true, are going to be dismantled in order for us to have an awakening and to pay attention to other things that our soul came to learn in this lifetime, right? Now, Aquarius season and the Sun meeting Pluto, the Sun illuminates, right? The Sun is this light that illuminates. It's not a coincidence, right? Or maybe it is, I don't know, that we would have the inauguration on this Monday, January 20th, during Aquarius season, and that we in the US are experiencing, this is a new reality. This is a new chapter that we're moving into, right? Next week on January 29th, we have the new moon in Aquarius. So here we are in this week, again, between a full moon and a new moon. And those weeks tend to come with a lot. Those weeks tend to show us not just what we're experiencing internally, but also externally, what's to come, what's really manifesting. So, look, there is something here that is showing us that 2025 is a year in which we are meant to elevate consciousness no matter what. 2025 is a year that is reminding us what happens when you feel that you have no control over your circumstances, right? And here's the thing. We have been so convinced that we are powerless, that whenever we feel that something that is out of our control happens, that then means immediately that we are powerless. Just because there are things that are out of our control does not mean that we are powerless. Those two things are very different. And I say this because the North Node is currently in Pisces, newly entered in Pisces. The North Node in Pisces, again, this theme of dismantling, this theme of dissolving, this theme of disillusionment, right? And the North Node is that you're going to experience these things in order to grow. And one of the beautiful things that Pisces reminds us of is who convinced you? Who convinced us that we have to move through these moments of pain or resistance or whatever it is that we're experiencing? Who convinced us that we have to experience it alone or that we are alone? If the North Node in Pisces, and I've said this before in other videos, whether it's YouTube or here on Instagram, if the North Node in Pisces is the reminder of trusting in something greater, of your connection to source, of your connection to your soul, then the South Node in Virgo, which by the way is ruled by Mercury, is telling us you are trying to figure this out through logic. You are trying to wrap your mind around all of this. You're trying to find reasons and you're trying to find how you can change it right now. But the way that the mind is currently conditioned is based on old paradigms. So if right now there is a sense of, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to feel, the South Node in Virgo, lower expression of Virgo, is to overthink yourself into something, to try to think yourself out of the present moment. If, for those of you, again, who saw this week's forecast on YouTube, I talked about how the energy of Mercury and Capricorn, okay, buddy, okay. I talked about how the energy of Mercury and Capricorn is this energy of what are you seeing unfold around you, and how can you accept that it is what it is at this moment in time? And instead of, again, south-nothing in Virgo in its lowest expression, trying to analyze yourself out of what you're actually feeling, how can you create space for how you feel and the understanding that you are not alone in this feeling perhaps of lacking control? Again, just because we cannot control external circumstances does not mean that we are powerless. But there is a remembering right now, because everything in the universe has to balance itself out. Everything in the universe has to come back to a certain equilibrium. And we're coming out. The way that the universe is trying to find energetic equilibrium right now, again, is that we have leaned so far into just the logic, just the cognitive, just the tell me the answer, tell me the steps, tell me what to do right now so that I can fix this. And that has taken over so much that we have forgotten of what it means to have our soul guide us along the way. We have forgotten of what it means to have a connection to something greater than ourselves. And that's what this moment in time is showing us. Our external circumstances do not define us. And I know that right now, with everything that's happening around the world and with the things that some people are experiencing, that might be a hard pill to swallow, but it is going to be the understanding that this current moment does not define me, that it is going to allow you to open yourself up to different solutions, to a different way of looking, not just at life itself, but at yourself. The North Node in Pisces is the invitation to remember who the we are. And not because we're going to just muscle through, but because we are light, right? So what does this look like on a daily basis? What does this look like in a practical interpretation? Let's see. Leaning into uncertainty is hard, and I'm finding myself just allowing it to. Exactly. It's like none of this by any means is easy. 2025 is a year that is going to constantly remind us of how little control we have. And I'm in a space of where I understand it from an astrological perspective. Okay, buddy. Okay. I'm in a space where I understand it from an astrological perspective, and it doesn't make me like any less nervous. But what does that mean to me? Okay, there are things that might continue happening in the world or in my life that are out of my control. How am I more intentional with my day-to-day, with my thoughts, with my time? How is my connection to source, to spirit, to my soul so much more intentional than it's ever been before? Because I've said this before too, the weirder things get in our external reality, the greater the calling to go within. And if this isn't landing for you, considering all of the things that we're experiencing in the world, 2025 will show you. Let's see. Jenny is saying, I feel especially hopeless today. Like everything I believe to be is not. Everything I believe to be true is not. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of those moments. This is a collective awakening. Spiritual awakenings are not easy, but they're necessary. And so what I share with you there is, how do you begin to understand the truth with a capital T, to discern the truth with a capital T of the connection to source versus the truth of circumstance? And that's the balance, especially with the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. The South Node in Virgo is an earth sign. And the South Node in Virgo translates itself in a very practical way on a daily life as, I still have to go to work. I still have to take care of myself. I still have to eat. I still have to pay my bills. For those of you who have children, I still have to take care of my kid, right? My kids. I still have to tend to the day-to-day. And the North Node is saying, and this is happening while we're collectively having a spiritual awakening. The disillusionment that needs to come before something can be rebuilt is not because source or the universe is picking on us, is because in the disillusion of the things that are dismantling are also limiting belief systems about who we truly are. The light of who we truly are is trying to come through at this moment in time. And having that understanding comes with a sense of hopelessness, with a sense of everything I thought to be true is no longer true. And when I feel that way, one, how do I hold myself? How do I find support? And more importantly, I think the biggest question is, who am I? Who am I when the foundations of what I thought things were going to be no longer exist in the way that I envisioned them? And the astrology is showing us that. Look, I find it fascinating that North Node is in Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces. Whenever we have an accumulation of energy in one sign, the themes of that sign are going to tell us this is what's changing, right? And it's along the lines of everything I've been talking about thus far. Venus is going to retrograde in Aries Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, the first sign of the zodiac. Mercury is going to retrograde in Aries Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, the first sign of the zodiac. And this is all going to happen during eclipse season in April and May. When the planets touching those degrees of the end of the zodiac and the beginning of the zodiac, that is an indication to us there is an end of a significant chapter and the beginning of a new one. We are experiencing in real time the process of death and rebirth. 2025 is this year that is not about just making us feel like we have no control. It's not just from a place of where it's trying to bury us. It's from a place of when you don't have control over the things you thought you had control over. Who really are you? Who do you remember yourself to be? The North Node in Pisces is the invitation of, can you observe? Can you witness? Can you be witness to the suffering of the earth and of others without becoming consumed by it? Because as soon as you get consumed by it, then you are saying, I am defined by this. And fascinating, the eclipses left Aries North Node too. Exactly. Exactly. I want to validate what we're moving through. I get it. And I also want to remind you of how necessary it is to remember the bigger picture in mind. Pluto in Aquarius is the power to the people. And in order for the people to remember that they have power, certain things need to contrast, right? Abraham Hicks always talks about the contrast necessary that we need to experience in order to understand what the next logical step is. Because later on in the year, at the end of March, we're going to have Saturn enter the sign of Aries. Sometime during the year, we're going to have Neptune enter the sign of Aries. Saturn in Aries is the responsibility that I have towards myself. So what does this mean, right? We can doom scroll all we want for however long we want. We can jack up our nervous systems. We can be in that space. But eventually the energy is going to ask us, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be someone who's going to get involved in community? Are you going to be someone who gets involved in politics? Are you going to be someone who takes care of yourself differently? How are you going to continue tending to your day-to-day from a different perspective? From a perspective of where you're in touch with soul. And I'm saying it to you in this way because Mercury is in Capricorn, so there very much is this again, acceptance of what is, because there's no way around it. We're also in Aquarius season, right? Which is ruled by Saturn, which is more of that element of, look, it is what it is. That is not to say that you are not allowed to feel upset, to feel sad, to take time to process. That is not what I'm saying at all. I don't think that there is any way that we can move through this time without needing time and space to process. What I am saying is that this is such a huge call inward, right? On this week's YouTube video, I received just a few comments around, someone commented, this fire wasn't nature, it was man-made. Okay. I'm not discarding the possibility at all. But what can I do about it? Right? Someone else commented, these politicians, they need to go. Someone suggested that I did a reading on some of the politicians' charts. Why? What is that going to do other than soothe our egos momentarily? Astrology is a beautiful tool, but if we use it as a tool to escape, it's also going to become that. The call is inward. And what that journey looks like, North Node in Pisces, is where your growth is. I think one of the overwhelming things of what we're experiencing right now is that we are being shown all the truths at once. We are being shown all the truths at once. And this is where we have to be willing to say, multiple truths can exist at once. And then the calling then becomes, okay, how do I hold multiple hard truths at once? How does my body respond to that? What do I need to give myself? How do I expand the bandwidth of existing as a human being right now? Do you understand how that is a much different approach than just doom scrolling? Than just saying, well, what's going to happen next and what's going to come next? And it's so not the point. It's so not the point. There's so much here that I've said it, we have no control over it, but there's great opportunity here. And everything and everyone that has a spotlight at the moment is our greatest teacher. Is our greatest teacher. And 2025 will show us how. And it doesn't matter how much resistance we have to it. It doesn't make it any less true. Right? Let's see. Thank you for wisdom, so potent and important to hear. Oh, I'm so glad that it's resonating and that it's helpful. So I will leave you with one more thing I'll leave you with. So today is Monday, January 20th. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have the moon transit the sign of Scorpio. When the moon transits the sign of Scorpio, there's a lot of intensity. There is a lot that we just feel at a very profound, deep level, right? Be with where you are. Be with where you are. Find space to process. But remember, the Scorpio energy, moon in Scorpio, calls and highlights the attention to transform through an experience, to alchemize an experience. To alchemize through an experience is to see what that experience is trying to teach you and show you. And if that's not where you are right now, if you're not ready to ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? And you're just wherever you are, that's okay too, right? There is no right or wrong. There's just information. But I just kind of giving a heads up on the moon in Scorpio because it's going to do a lot of things it's going to connect with Pluto, via square, that's an aspect of tension. It's going to do interesting things. And it's going to square the sun, in Aquarius. So giving us this energy of a lot of fixed energy. And so on the one hand, fixed energy is really great to move forward with things and to say, you know what, this is hard and I can move through this. Or this is hard and I want to be where I'm at. That's okay too. How does the South Node in Virgo impact multiple truths being revealed? So, did I say that specifically? Okay. So the South Node in Virgo, remember, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is information. Jupiter is currently in Gemini. Retrograde, but it's currently in Gemini. The dissemination of all of the information. Here are all of the truths on our phone, in conversations, in conflict with people we love. Here, all of the truths that I was either in denial of, that I didn't want to see, that whatever it is, how do we hold them at once, right? Without becoming overwhelmed by them. The South Node in Virgo right now can lead to analysis paralysis. Because both Virgo and Gemini are energies that are going to give us information. We're being given information. The universe is giving us information right now. How do we feel about it? How do we receive it? What is it telling us? What is it showing us? I think that another thing that is important to remember, Pluto in Aquarius is also the reminder, and I've said this before, of we are all one and we are all connected no matter what. We're like world citizens. Okay. I say that because I'm talking about specifically about like the political outlook right now. Okay. Yeah. The people who are for the political climate at the moment and who was inaugurated today and who really went into office today, they are not free of the lessons that we are beginning to realize we're going to have. They are not free of it. It's just that that outcome happens to feed the narrative that their ego needs to hear at this moment in time. What that means for the future, I'm not sure, but we're all learning the same lesson here. So this lesson of disempowerment and empowerment, whether it happens now or it happens later, no one is free of it. Everyone will learn it in due time. We just so happen, right, to have an opinion where perhaps there's a feeling of disempowerment now, but no one is free of it. We are a collective. I say this because, again, the universe is balancing itself out, and no one is scathing, is scathing by without these lessons, no matter what side of the political spectrum they're in. So if there are people that are for what happened today, for who was inaugurated today, that's fine. 2025, the universe and the energy that we're meant to experience will remind them, no. You're still giving your power away because you're thinking that someone is going to come in. You're thinking that someone or something outside of you is bigger than you and somehow going to solve these problems, right? It's not about that. So whether people are experiencing this now or later, the lessons are the same across the board. And they, depending on people's level of consciousness, depending on how they live their life, pay attention to things, life will show them how. So I'll stop there. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this made sense. So much love to you all. I invite you to really pay attention to the weekly forecasts. I leave you with so much, and I think that people's attention span is so short. I think that people just want, perhaps we just want to consume, perhaps we just want to be like, just tell me. Take your time. Take your time. This Capricorn's not going to move any faster, I'll tell you that. Okay? Thank you. So much love to you. Talk to you soon.